Thanks for joining me on my journey to a cleaner, greener lifestyle. Part of living cleaner and greener is knowing what's in your food. The best place you can find out about that is at your local farm. We're here today to learn about pasture-raised chickens and why their eggs are that much better than the ones that you can get at the grocery store. And we're going to learn about grass-fed beef and what's the difference between grass-fed and grain. These are really important questions. So join me, we're going to go inside and learn about this on Clean Green Living. Hi, we're here at Chocolog Farm, and this is Wenona. She is the farmer of this place, and it's a beautiful place.
Thank you.
It's a lot of work.
It is.
And I'm really intrigued with the eggs. That's why we came over, mostly to see your chickens and also your cows. So one of the things that I get confused with is when I go to the grocery store and all the eggs are there, there's everything from like $1 up to $5 or $6 a dozen. And there's different labeling and things like that. What does it mean when we have like pasture-raised eggs?
So pasture-raised means that they should be out on green grass. And we've kind of moved to this label because free range used to be the term we used, but now free range has been sort of defined, and commercially it's defined as having access to a small area outside. So they can have hundreds of feet of building and a small access door to a small little yard, no grass. Most of the birds are never going to go out that door, and be calling it free range.
Oh.
So really cage free and free range is very close in definition now. So those of us who have actual free range chickens out on pasture have moved to pasture raised. We'll see how long that lasts before people fool around with it. So yeah, that's what you have cage free, which just means that they're not in the battery cages inside the building, but they're inside a building.
So help me with a battery cage. Now, is that the size of like a car battery? Is that why they call it that?
I don't know why they call it a battery cage, but I'll tell you, it's so small that the chicken cannot stand up and stretch her wings. She can't stand up fully, and she can't stretch her wings out. So it's very small. It's just what it takes to hold a chicken. And then they're stacked like on top of each other inside buildings, and they just produce eggs.
It must be disgusting.
People have to wear masks to go through these buildings because the smell is so horrible. So that's your conventional egg. That's how it's being raised. They've had news programs get into these buildings and like sneak into them because they don't really want people seeing how these things are done. So that's like the bottom of the barrel, your conventional egg. Then there's cage free. So they are not in these cages, but they're still like crammed into these buildings. So they're just, as many as they can fit.
Smashed
into a building.
Oh.
And then free range just is the same thing, except they have a door at the end that goes out to a little yard, but the chances of them actually finding it and going out are very slim.
So these chickens are stuffed into this building.
Yes.
And then they have this little plot out here with a door.
Yeah.
So if you're the little chicken over here,
yes,
you never see the free range.
That's sort of the point. Like, yeah, you never get outside. And it only has to be open for so long per day. And I can't remember off the top of my head how long that is, but it's not very long. They only have to open that door for so long every day. The theory being that you're giving them a chance to get fresh air and sunlight. But like you say, 90% of those birds are not ever going to find outside. And if they do go outside, they're not going to find a stitch of green grass.
Right, it's just dirt
it's
or
be
pavement
dirt.
or whatever.
And actually a lot of the local eggs are that way too. So that's one of the things that it's always best to go to the farm and see what your food is being raised, how it's being raised. This vegetarian thing too, like vegetarian fed. Chickens are not vegetarians.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you.
Yeah.
Like they have vegetarian eggs, and I'm like, wait a second, how can you not get the chicken eat a bug?
Yeah, that's it. And even up to like if they find a rodent, they're going to be all for that. A frog. They're omnivores. They're not vegetarians.
So the question I wanted to ask was, it really is one chicken, one egg per day?
At most. You have to count on about 5 to 6 months old before you start getting any eggs. So you have to feed them all that time before they start producing. So when you start talking about an egg a day too, so it's actually not, it's a little less than that, and you waited 6 months for them to start. And at about 2 years old, they really slow down significantly to the point where economically it becomes not viable to keep feeding them for how many eggs you're getting.
Well, can we go see those little chicks?
Yeah.
I think you said they're ready to come out,
Yeah, they're
right?
ready to come out. Yeah, they're waiting.
Awesome.
You gonna come running out like you usually do?
Here they come.
This is the type of happiness that you want your birds to have, you know, and a lot of times that's what's missing. They don't.
Look at how sweet they are.
They don't take that into consideration, you know.
And these are 3 weeks old?
Yeah, these are 3 weeks old. Yeah, you're so happy, huh?
When's the last time you saw a happy chick like that?
Yeah, they want to be out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they want to be
They don't
out.
want to be cooped up in there.
No.
And these again are
These are colored broilers.
colored broilers.
So they're slower growing than the Cornish crosses, but they're much healthier. The Cornish crosses grow so fast, their bone structure can't even keep up.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so a lot of times they get to the point where they can't stand. And
Oh, that's
yeah,
not good.
so these take about 10 weeks compared to 8 or less with the Cornish cross, but it's worth it. You end up with a nice happy bird. When they go out to the big cages and they get moved every day, they forage well, they move around well, they work out really well. So it does take a little bit longer, but
So they spend about 3 weeks here in the playpen.
3 weeks here in their brooder and playpen. So they have a heated mat in there. And these guys, like I say, they're about 2 weeks. So when they're littler, when they first come, of course, the heated mat's really important. But yeah, they spend about 3 weeks in here. Once they start getting some real feathers going, then they can go out to the broiler cage, and the broiler cage gets moved every day.
Oh,
So they get a fresh plot every day. Yeah, so they get nice new grass, nice new bugs every day.
Can we go see the broiler?
Yeah, we can go see that setup. We've got layers in there right now, but we can go see how it works.
Okay.
So with broiler chickens especially, they're not as well at defending themselves because they're a little bit slower, they're a little bit bigger, they just can't move as fast. So they really do need to be protected in something like this. So that's your balance between giving them a life that's really enjoyable, but keeping them safe.
So I'm dying to go see the cows. Can we see the cows?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll go see the cows. Come on, cows. There you go. Hi, sweetie. Now they'll be happy.
You're like the cow whisperer.
I'm a lead cow. I'm not sure whether that's flattering or not.
My question was, why do I have to watch out so much for the grain-fed versus grass-fed? What's the big deal?
So there's 2 fronts on that. So the first one is about the nutrients that's actually in the meat. So I was saying, I think that your doctor warns you against red meat, and one of the reasons is that when they're put on grain, it takes about 2 weeks for their profile of nutrients in the meat to change and to have bad fats versus good fats. So you know omega-6s,
Yep.
and our balance between that and omega-3s, you're supposed to have less omega-6s. That's exactly what happens when they start feeding grain. The omega-6 level raises and the omega-3 level drops. So there's a whole change in that makes the meat by far less healthy once it's on grain. But for the animal, being on grain makes their system acidic. They're not made to process grain. So when their system gets acidified like that, they develop holes in their intestines and in the digestive system, and they can actually leak into their circulation system. So that's how you get E. coli in the meat, compared to an animal that gets to spend their whole life on grass, which is what they're meant to do.
Right.
And you can see that they're happy to be out there. And especially if the grass is well managed, you end up with good tasting meat that's much better for you.
Now, one question I had was, what about in the wintertime? So you don't have grass, they're not out there.
So you dry grass or you ferment grass. So you can have dry square bales of grass, which is what most people are familiar with, or you can do wrapped round bales of grass, which makes it ferment, actually makes it healthier.
And that grain finished, even that doing that to a cow is not good for you as far as a consumer?
No, like I say, it takes only 2 weeks for that meat to change its profile when they are fed on grain. And of course, it's not good for the animals either. And I would say most of your meats that you're getting are confinement raised even longer.
Right.
You know, they're confinement raised for most of their lives, but at least months, is that they're trying to build up this fat, this marbling, the tenderness, everything that it's the same as the fruits and vegetables. We've gotten used to things that are pretty and easy to chew and have a certain taste. It's actually bland compared to grass-fed, so grass-fed have a little bit more flavor in it, and it's something that sometimes people need to adjust to. But we've gotten used to.
We have to adjust to more flavor.
We have to adjust to the way things are supposed to taste. But you know, that is the way it is.
Thanks so much for joining me here today on Chocolog Farm. We had a wonderful day getting to see everything from the grass-fed beef, pasture-raised chickens, and even the organic gardening she's doing here. One thing that I took away from today is the labeling. Things are a little bit different than what we expect, so we have to be very careful about the foods that we're buying and making sure we check the labels. So thanks so much for joining me again, and we are on a journey to a cleaner, greener lifestyle.